Ciao, Colin. Ciao, Bambini. Welcome back.
I know it comes round so quick, doesn't it?
Yeah. This one's going to be good too because it's the man card. And so I'm going to be able to say in just 7 days, you can make us a man, which is the first gay joke of the show. And a weirdly timed one as we were like hitting record just before we hit record. James and I are going to see Rocky Horror in Hobart, like a live performance of it on Halloween. And no, we will not be dressing up. That question was asked, and no, we won't. But it's a pity. It's so close. Like, so we will see your development on the man card phrasing before we go to the show. But it's just off by a week. We should have had a bye week to line that up. But anyway, speaking of, how were the previous 27 seconds of your life?
Once again, gone in a flash, but here we are. Good. I had a chance to go foraging in my local sort of forest and farmlands for totally legal things that absolutely infringe upon no rights of anyone ever. So that's my second favorite time of the year, next to Halloween. So, and they also line up perfectly. So that's probably, if you see me like on any kind of social media, just absolutely watching Hocus Pocus high as a kite. That's
that's best life.
Add the dots, line them up.
So as everyone can plainly see, because we're talking about the man card, this is a very mask for mask show. So I consider Colin and I to be experts in this. Hocus Pocus high on, let's say, dandelions, and Rocky Horror Picture Show. Actually,
of course.
So you are
Tim Curry.
Yeah. When it comes to men, you are in good hands. Borderline phrasing. All right.
It's only going down from here, I think.
Also phrasing. Most definitely when we actually get to cunt board, I think people were like, all right. Because we have managed to find someone that even the straights would have a go on, I think. But no straights watch this.
Famously, he's like equal opportunities, so that's all right. He's for the masses.
David said he went to Dunoon for that, Colin. So I think that means foraging for perfectly legal things. So there are reprobates in the chat.
Fabulous. Well done, guys.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll get to the man eventually. We shall wait yet another day for our man. But first we need to talk about some previous stuff. So work-wise, how'd you go this week? What should we talk about first?
We had the heart, just some niggles to improve on the book, and we had the letter card.
The letter.
So
yeah, I think we should start with the heart because that's where there were more of the challenges last week. So I'm just gonna jump on over to it, and I think you've turned this around quite well. I like the thorns more than I thought I would.
Yeah. I've learned like a trick with you now, where the more like I was like, we'll let Gordon speak first because we'll see what he says and see what genuinely I was like, well, I guess I've just given up on this one. I was like, I threw this in there, I was like, we'll see what happens. But usually when that happens, you tend to be more in favor of the image, so the pattern for me continues. But yeah, I was like, right, I changed the night back into day situation, added a little kind of more Secret Heart kind of imagery. But by the end of this, I was just like, I'm ready to kind of, not that we have the time or that I have the wherewithal to deal with it, to kind of just go and try option two with like the tattoo. But if you think it's a gore, then that's, you know, you're the boss.
I think I do. Like, I like the idea of the tattoo, but whatever. That can be for the next card deck, right? We can just do an
This
all
one does
tattoo
kind of
deck.
it's going in that kind of Ursula's spell kind of direction, where it's like kind of this kind of animated sort of, which I do enjoy. So I think just if we're happy with this as a direction, then I can refine it and kind of add little touches to it. But I was literally just like, this is the last option, and then I'm just you know, letting go and letting God with it.
Yeah. I mean, we can see what other people think in the chat or in the Telegram chat as well. Because if you're not in that, you're only getting half the story. And I like it. There's something about the tattoo that just doesn't have the emotional or like magical range that I think the
Yeah.
heart card needs to, because we'd lose the implication of heart chakra, which we have there with the Sanskrit symbol. And it's a cutesy idea, but it's quite one note. And
Mhm.
so it was the backup if this turned into a complete trash fire. But you managed to put that out while the trash was just smoldering. So you know, I think I like the. It's funny. It makes it more Catholic in a good sense, right? Like, it actually makes it
Yeah.
somehow more Montmartre, even though that's not actually a
Well, that
sacred
was
heart
like
thing.
one of the initial like images that you provided was like a Catholic depiction of like the Sacred Heart. And I was like, that is really cool and dramatic. So what to do, I think, is leave it with me, and then when we take our break, I'll give me space with it just to kind of not be sick of fucking looking at it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I can kind of polish it off and bring it back up to like the level. I will say, like, as I was like uploading them to send them to you, the three cards, I was like, and I'm always like, I don't know why, because we are doing this, we do it week to week. I'm like always kind of gently surprised, like, oh, they look like they all belong. They're all of a piece. They all belong together.
That's
So I'm
weird.
happy, because at the beginning when we were dabbling with the styles, and like we got to certain points, and I was like, I just don't feel like these are, you know, they're not in the same world. But now I feel like we're definitely like in the same
Yeah.
world. So I'm like comfortable with the style and the color and all that kind of stuff. It just needs to kind of be refined in terms of like content. I don't want to talk about it for too long, because I will just I'll be like,
Well,
you know what, this fucking deck doesn't have a heart card and it doesn't have a house card. Okay, guys, just deal with
right. The heartless Lenormand.
it. Oh, that's
It's
a great name, actually.
it's not bad. It's not bad. You'd have to have, I don't know what, you'd still have to have a heart card in it, but it would have to be like a beef heart in a supermarket or something. Like, it'd have to be like not actually heart card stuff. But I mean, I'm happy. It's funny you mentioned that you're surprised when you send them that they all look like they're in the same cinematic universe, which is a term I invented, because I think the same when I get them and I download them. I'm like, these actually.
I think it's the nature of doing this like as an episodic installment, where it's like you kind of move from one thing and you go into the next thing and you just don't think about it anymore, and then the more you kind of work. Whereas if this was like a Kickstarter or whatever, would have been doing this
Yeah,
behind the scenes together for like a year or whatever.
yeah,
So it's just a different vibe, which I kind of
yeah,
appreciate. It's kind of it feels more like I think a design job like that you would get in the old days than like sort of the modern. Like, it feels like, you know, I feel like we're hot to the presses. We're you know, we're like working with, like, you know, it's not, but it feels that way. It's
yeah.
more,
Well, no, I
and that
absolutely get that. Yeah, that's
yeah,
my energy, right?
and
Because I
where you
started
like,
off in
and
weekly magazines, so weekly
the
podcasts
thrill
were
of it
fine for
is that
me.
you just
Yeah,
have you're just like, I have no idea, is this working? And then you get to a certain point or a certain sort of issue or whatever, if it was a magazine, and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is totally a thing, people are into whatever.
yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting journey so far.
No, it's good. I'm just going to jump back to it because, I mean, we are talking about hombres, les hommes. I am happy that the hot jawline has mostly returned as well. But so thinking about there's another way you can kind of look at the thorns. It's super Catholic and magical and all the rest of it, but it's also the heart card can be like a breaking open of one's heart, right? So depending on, particularly if you have magical clients who are on those sort of psychic journeys in the sense of referencing the psyche, the thorns can in fact be like, well, what are you protecting your heart with, in what trauma is surrounding your heart, kind of stuff. So I actually quite like the sort of and it also reminds me of Pan's Labyrinth as well. So the sort of fairy tale aspect of that, which I think is very our cinematic universe.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we'll lean more into this, and kind of it's one of those ones where it's like, as everything's together, if this is what we're going for, it just needs to have that kind of final go around and polish, and then we'll be in a better position. We'll have a special treat for card 30, I guess. Is that right? By the time, whatever the break week is, the bye week
today, which is my age conveniently. So yeah. So that sounds about right. Yes, for card 30. Yeah. All right. So the next one to look at, that was the heart, is the book. And as we can plainly see here from the new lanterns, that this sorcerer or priest shops in Stars Hollow.
Yeah, that's right. They're not the same lanterns. They are of a different continent or what have you. But David, I was like, well, this is where we want more lanterns and more sort of tat in the back. And I was like, all right, let's just do this. Let's have it. So yeah, increased the slim novella to a bumper pack sort of book. Added a few more elements of like texture and more like lanterns and things. And yeah, she's looking good.
Just Nathan in the chat, because obviously there's a few seconds delay, has a suggestion which I quite like the idea of. It's worth playing with. Could the thorns be breaking up as if the heart is sort of bursting? I think
that's not a bad idea. Like just at the front section, yeah. Because as I was shading it for the light coming through, I was like, it's a cool effect just to have like the light kind of shit. So that's not a bad idea. I was thinking initially like beams of light kind of coming through, but that's a little clearer of an image and a story, I guess, for like what the heart is. So yeah, that's cool.
Cool. Give that a shot. Fun. Well done. All right, back to the book, which is fast becoming one of my favorite cards. Like, I love it. I mean, it's got Necronomicon feels, Jung feels. Has everyone actually... Wait, I've got it here. Has everyone actually seen the published Red book? I think I showed Colin. Let me try and go back to main screen, just so people are aware. Like, it is, in fact, not a small book, like, in the first place, right? This isn't... so... When I look at this, I'm like, yes, I would also like a dais and chains and presumably a cart to carry this fucking thing around. I'll put that back on the ground. Oh, that is my weight training for today. All right. I noticed it's thicker as well, phrasing, which I'm also into. This is pretty close to done, isn't it? I mean, is there anything else?
I think so. Yeah. It's one of those like there's the ones that are all done. Not to say, I sound like a Nicki Minaj lyric there.
You wish.
I know, right? They're like, we'll polish everything else off and bring it all up to that level, and then everything gets like a kind of final sheen of a sparkle, just to kind of bring it all sort of, ready for the showroom, if you will, or the main stage.
Yeah, I'm super into it. It's very cool. And it does, the more I think about it, that idea of having a wraparound of the bazaar as the book thing, that's what we've got as our placeholder idea for the cover in case we come up with something, completely different later on. Because you could actually put the tower in like the horizon, because that is in a sort of arid, although Southern French style arid, that is in a kind of arid area. You could probably fit quite a few things. Maybe not. Well, maybe pigeons. They'd just be really small. It's not like they don't have pigeons in North Africa. So yeah, I'm into it. But even if we don't go down this direction, this is one of my favorite cards. I think this looks so cool. So
yeah, interesting to get back to very way back in my college days. I got shortlisted for a Penguin book design, like a Young Designers Award. And I got to went down to London. I didn't win anything, but it was like an interesting process of just designing the book and getting this was again, 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about college.
And I got to meet, it was one of Roald Dahl's ancestors. It wasn't the one that's like the cute model. It was someone else.
Not Sophie, who does like that TV show.
Yeah, it wasn't Sophie Dahl, the cooking one. That's right. That was so good. I love posh ladies just doing cooking. Like, so it'll be interesting to kind of get back into that zone because it was probably one of, in the terms of like the stretch of my education, it was like one of the more fun projects to kind of get to the bottom of. But again, I don't know why I'm saying this because I'm just adding more to the fucking pile.
What I heard there was that you're really good at designing books. So like, win.
We're just gonna have a picture of Gordon in the front and then a picture of me in the back. That's
or we could do like a Dolly Parton film poster of us like on the front.
No, that's not a terrible idea, actually.
No, that's about the authors in quotation marks at the back, and we can do like a All right,
this like how to lose a fool in 10 days.
Fortunately, this book is writing itself because I have to write the cunt. So, all right. Well, speaking of writing, shall we jump to the letter? All right, lay it on us.
Where are we? Let's see. Again, fairly simple, or fairly like not simple. I got exactly what you were saying from like the description and from how our discussion last week, and I was like, yeah, it's going to be easy. And I could the thing that was kind of the draw for the image for me was going to be like the shine of the salver, the tree. So yeah, I changed the initial sketch, and then I changed the position of the waiter because we had a lot of. Did I change the position?
Yeah, if you look at that, well, sort of. It's mirrored.
I did.
You mirror a bit anyway.
A lot of anytime like a subhuman has appeared in the card so far, and I say subhuman just because we only have one man and one woman in the deck, but there's been like people kind of cropping up that we don't want to pay too much focus on towards them because they're not the point of the card. It's been more in the other direction that they've been placed on the other side. And I think that's just a bias for like left to right kind of Western style of reading things. So I just wanted to kind of sort of flip it.
It's also just really good because again, if you think about it in a tableau, you actually want the people to be balanced out in and amongst their cards. It will actually look kind of lopsided when all 36 of them are laid out.
And that's the thing.
Go on. You go.
That's the thing when we get to kind of the final run through of everything, just to like, I'll be able to look at everything because everything appears again in my sort of file for this. I see everything as a tableau, just as like a 1 through 36, and I'll be able to kind of look at everything and say, oh well, it's a bit too lopsided in this. I just kind of maneuver things or flip something or whatever, and just kind of make sure we're getting a good balanced like representation all over. But yeah, the idea, I think the squid pattern or the kraken pattern for the carpet is, I think we can do that. This is just like a placeholder because we have a card back still to kind of finalize, and I kind of wanted to put this pattern I wanted to do that especially for like use it in the card back as an element of the sort of border in the card back. Because it brings it's ended up being bringing everything in.
Yeah, it ends up being this riverboat casino that we're sort of talking about. But it's the first time you see
it. It's like it's a theme that I never saw coming for this deck, but it's a theme that has sort of permeated throughout. So I like that kind of.
Wait. Is there a way? No, maybe not. I was about to say, is there a way we can have the riverboat casino on the cover of the book? Maybe, maybe not. We could if it was like a deep river, because we actually could have. I'm just going to jump back, because obviously it's a vertical image, right? So if the boat, it's sort of like a Jaws thing, where the boat could in fact be kind of small and get more kraken.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Anyway, we'll see if the riverboat casino crops up again in the deck.
What might end up happening is we do like a show 37, and then like this is just like the sort of we kind of do something for that, or like we'll drop a show out of nowhere, like again big time rappers that we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, special because it's sort of like the. It's without posh, but it's sort of like the.
What? I mean, come on! I mean, that's a drag reference. That's our drag reference, and I noticed that when I was watching it, and I was like, "This feels homophobic." Like I can't put my finger on it. Where's my girl?
Yeah, because like
Anyway.
the squid arms that I'm surrounded by, like the kraken arms, is very iconic for the whole project. So if we can
Mm.
reference that, because I was thinking like a different treatment of this was going to be the book, and it still could be, but it also could be the Riverboat Casino. I might have to write a chapter about it at some stage, which means more work for me. But hey ho. Anyway, back to the letter card. Love it, except it's not clear. I mean, it's not done yet, but I think the top down of the waiter looks confusing to me, like it's a Tintin character on its side or something. And I don't know. I have no idea how you would solve that. No idea at all. But it almost
I
looks
don't
more
know.
obviously like a human in the sketch, a human holding a tray. I just can't. I'm not getting much of the top down. I think it's the flesh color bit. I don't know. What do you think?
So just too much face, essentially.
I don't know. Like, is it? He could be wearing a hat, right? So that would make it sort of easier. You'd get the like a top hat
Like a
type
rev,
thing.
one of those like riverboat. I don't know, like those like those men's choir a cappella, like
Like a
those flat
visor,
top kind of hats.
like a croupier's visor. Do you mean? Or
Yeah. Oh. Um. Yeah, that's like because the initial when we spoke about it last, we reduced the sort of perspective, so it was just more top down. Because when
yeah,
I sent a version out where there was like we could see feet, and it just wasn't. It was squeezing too much into the image. Um, but yeah, that's not like a huge like it's there like as a like I mean I don't really care like if we just take it that away and turn it into like a black hairline or something
something like
and
that.
maybe change the lighting so that it's clearer that it's like shoulders or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's something like that because like the tray is sort of held further out from the body in the sketch, and I think that helps in some respects. But I think it's just not. It's not
Yeah, that's
immediately
yeah.
clear.
Move it,
Yeah,
move it towards the top, and then you don't have that like space with the light sort of.
yeah.
But yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that was like the actual letter itself is excellent and the tray is excellent and it's exactly, and again, I mean, hopefully this happens with every card and I think it has so far. It's the best treatment of a letter card I have seen in the dozens of Lenormand decks I've looked at, and I think that's the same for well, not the heart yet, but every other.
Well, listen, much like here, I have like there's a few cards where I'm like, I am gonna come back and I'm gonna fucking show every card available. I'm like, look what I fucking did, and that will be going on the list.
That's quite that
yeah, no,
and the,
that's
yeah, that and the house, which has also been your curse. It's really psychologically telling that you're not
and let me
doing
tell you,
hearts and
see, since
homes.
last you saw the house card, the style, so that had line work, like as if sort it was more still in it, sort of comic booky kind of line work. That is not a thing that we're doing anymore. But that's not a big issue because it's not like you can just take that away and like merge everything. But I think in that this finalized style, everything makes more sense. If
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
yeah, definitely.
so when I go back and retreat the cards, they'll make more sense with that kind of yeah, and I'm kind of excited to do that. Excited, but also again, this is the beginning of like my I'm like Jack Nicholson, like at the beginning of the movie The Shining. This is the beginning of my winter of discontent. So good luck.
No, I just think it's very psychologically telling that the cards that have stumped you the most have been heart and home, and I'm like, that's big
No,
Aquarius. It's big Aquarius
I don't
energy.
wanna
It's
fucking
like,
talk
what
like
do you
that.
mean? I don't
Listen.
understand what a home is. I live in like an upside down trailer in a swamp, and hearts are
Uh,
irrelevant.
I've already contemplated this in the midnight hours, and I don't want to fucking talk about it. All right, that's for some psychologist to dissect when I'm like 50, which is in 40 years time, 50,
Yeah.
30 years time.
30, 28 this
30
time.
odd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's creeping up.
But yeah, there's like that as an aside, like I'm excited to kind of bring this style back to the earlier cards. And I think that's fine with the letter card. I don't think there's any other like. Oh, there's a little in the wax seal. There's like a little chaos star, like a
Yeah.
little fortune feels chaos star. Like I don't know if they can see that on the YouTube video,
Yeah,
but it's there,
it's there in the image for sure.
and it should be able. It'll be relatively it'll be as printed, like on its like small card size. It'll be it'll be like a flake of light, but you'll know what it is. It's
Yeah.
I've kind of like messed with it.
Well, it's sort of like the gazebo topper, right? Like you'll know it's there if you look close enough, but it
Yeah,
is nevertheless there.
yeah.
Right. I'm listening to and it's not great even for me, but I'm listening to a sort of like a biography of Peter Jackson's experience doing the Lord of the Rings and apparently the Hobbit films, but it only gets one chapter, which is disappointing because I think they're better than people realize, those films. And it just kind of reminds me of that. Like, it's not, even for me, who am a huge Peter Jackson fan, obviously, the book's really obsequious and hagiographic and like talking about his genius and like the true talent of like it's a bit but nevertheless there's interesting parts in it if you are a gross disgusting Lord of the Rings nerd like I am. But one of the things this reminds me of, this project, is the amount of effort that Dan Henner and Weta went to make sure that the sets had stuff that were never going to appear on camera, particularly when it comes to Edoras, that were there. Like, so they built the Hall of Meduseld, and there's like woodwork on all the sort of the behind parts of the beams in the roof that are impossible to, like, they cannot show up on camera, but they're nevertheless there. And it's funny, now that they've done the 4K release, a lot more of that stuff shows up than you realize. Like, I bought the 4Ks and I was watching them, and there's all these extra like tents with people in them in battle scenes and things. I'm like, oh shit, I've seen this movie dozens of times. So that was kind of cool. But I like that it's good magic to have that stuff in the cards, even if they're not necessarily visible in every reading session or at all. So yay us.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Like, there's moments of detail where I'm like, this is not necessary for how this is getting printed out in the end, but it would feel less for me as an image if I hadn't included it. So yeah, definitely. I think that's just as a craft. I hate that term. I hate the term creatives and I hate the term craft, but as like that's just the craftsmanship of like what you're doing. Is that you like if you don't respect detail, then what the fuck are you doing anything that you know what I mean, as a job? Do you know what I mean?
There's a ferryboat story in New Orleans in the chat. That's very cool. The Algiers ferry has broke loose, and that was a laugh. Yeah, that. I love. Yeah, hilarious auto caption mistakes, particularly when they cross languages. But good for that. All right, men. The man card. As I was saying, this is a very mask for mask show. So sit down, children, and learn everything you could possibly know about men and masculinity from Colin and I.
Yes. Oh, well, do you want to hear a masculine thing that happened to me tonight? So this happens well, guys, don't worry. PG, it's fine.
Right.
Ish. Remember Free Batney? Remember the bat that appeared in my kitchen?
I do.
So got out of the shower earlier tonight. Sun had set. Got out of the shower, just like walking around, getting things ready, and then confronted. This was a Free Batney, which was many episodes ago. That was it was I think that's when like the hatchlings or whatever, like the baby bats were kind of like finding their footing and like fleeing the nest and all that. So they were it was docile, it was fine. It slapped on the floor and I just like popped it in a container and set it free into the wild. Tonight I was accosted by a huge. I'm going to call it Vlad. This kind was called Vlad, right? And the masculine nature in which I reacted to this surprise guest of all.
I see where the story is going.
with a towel wrapped around my head as if I had 8 feet of hair, like just like a full turban. And then I walked into the kitchen and I just like this flat of wing, and people open their doors in other flats to find out
because what you did was let out like a deep masculine like war cry.
Roar, I would say. Roar. So yeah, I'm ready for. Oh, the bat was released into the wild. It was fine because I kind of, again, another masculine thing. I kind of whistled at it like it was a dog to kind of get it out of the door. Anyway, I'm ready to teach the children about how to be a man in 2021.
Yeah, well, the Rocky Horror song choice. This isn't my song choice, but in just 7 days I can make you a man. I think is really appropriate because in 7 days you will have a man card.
There will be a man.
Yeah,
it always reminds me of the old. Sorry, it always reminds me of the old Sabrina TV show. Like when I was, I was obviously too young to watch it. But they made a man in an oven, and one of the ants, so it was like, "Oh, man's done," and that reminds me of that.
Right. Didn't watch it. Definitely before my time.
Of course. I mean, I'm a little older than you are.
My friend Heidi said the cat reminded her of me, and I'm like, fair enough.
Oh yeah, I can see that actually.
I think personality-wise, rather than visually,
yeah.
But
like small, little, furry.
Yeah, exactly. Petite is what she's saying. Petite and lithe is where she was going with that as a description. Anyway,
filled with nuts and bolts.
The man card is obviously a man, a male-identified person, male-identified love interest. Husband, father. It's generally a benign expression of masculinity. So you can get like if your boss is a cunt, it's probably the bear card, depending on your gender, and also on where, depending on what cards lay around the man card as well. It can be that, but typically it's a benign expression of it. Having said that, if it's the father and there are family issues and so on, it's not necessarily the case. But it's also one of the two genders, one of the two signifiers, unless you, like Colin and I, are in your mid-20s, in which case you'd use the twink as the signifier. But otherwise, like if someone's male identified, they are, that's their signifier. Same thing when we get to the woman card, same situation. And it doesn't matter. I know people get annoyed at this, but like it's another thing that Camellia I think is really good and really correct about, which is like, this is all made up. Gender is all made up. Blah blah. Like every culture. Blah blah blah. If you're lesbians, these are your cards. You can have the rider if you want. But if you're a woman and you sit in front of me, the woman card is your signifier, and your husband or wife or whatever is the man card, and I don't care. And I'm like, yeah.
I've heard that. I've read that line from her, and I enjoyed it, and it's kind of briskness, or like it was just like, yep, this is who.
I collect swords.
I've taken a pre-reading of who you are, and this is who this applies to you, so that's fine.
It's like I collect swords. I do not have time, and also 20 years in academia, maybe more. She has had enough, like sob story gender circles. And it's not that she disagrees with them at all. It's like she opens with gender is made up. You're going to get this card. You're going to get this card. I don't care. Don't waste my time. And that's that's like the energy I bring to this stuff too. And also like the majority of people on Earth do fall into male identified or female identified. It's more of an issue in fortune telling, particularly for magic, because you're much more likely to find NBs. You're much more likely to find people who, by definition, because they do magic and the rest of it, fall outside those categories. But I wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
We did mention at the beginning of the show as well, when we're at the beginning of the series, when we were talking about the kind of look and feel. And this man card is going to be a man. We've already, and we'll continue to like fuck with gender and polarity and so on. The twink is a female identified woman pretending to be a man, like on the run at the edge of the world. Like we're bringing, just as RuPaul does now, all the genders to the stage.
Yeah, the bear is like a woman, or what we assume is a woman, like shaman, like is brought forth. Like that's, so we're mixing it up a little. We're spreading gender, which is a construct. We're spreading it thin across the deck because it doesn't. It's don't overthink what the cards that are in front of you.
If you'd like to cancel either of us, there are plenty of other made up reasons to do it, but it will not be.
If you want like non-binary hot like persons, go on my fucking TikTok and look at my sketches that I do, because riddled, absolutely riddled with it. Like that's what I'm doing there.
The butt card you told me was inspired by someone on TikTok, which is good.
Yeah,
Good
well, it was a
cross.
porn star, so I didn't want to say at the time. I don't know why. I think I was like, let's let that butt sit for a while. Johnny Rapid, who was like my coming of age like porn star, who was like in all the porn back when I was 21 years old, or whatever age you have to be to watch it. Um, but now obviously he's our age, so it's like
In his prime,
28.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's in his prime. He's a man now. Yes, and I was like, he showed up in TikTok, and I was like, oh, that's cute. That's how we kind of deal with. I guess this is the generation. We are the sub generation that deals with like porn as a like. They're not anonymous characters that are just in some ropey old VHS or whatever. Like they grow up to be like TikTok stars or like that's it. Like it's an interesting time to be alive, just in that respect.
Only in that respect and no others.
Right? Specifically.
Yeah, what else do I need to say about the man card? So it's the querent. If the querent is male identified, it is a man. It's generally benign expression of, or like a positive expression, not necessarily benign because it's quite forceful, but like masculine in all those admittedly problematic Jungian tropes of like protectiveness and blah, blah, blah. It can also be the ding-a-ling in a health reading. So if you are doing health readings for people, that can be getting tubes tied, that can be erectile dysfunctions, that can be prostate stuff.
Get a prostate, get that checked, guys.
Yeah.
Once you get past 28,
so depending on where the butt is in relation to the man, phrasing. You might want to think about
and the scythe or whatever.
Phrasing.
I guess like if all these kind of fall in line, like.
Yeah. But like if you get
indeed, yes.
If the like it go like health issues and it's sort of like man side, it's like he's getting the snip, right? Like he's getting those tubes tied. It's dick as well as man, right? And so consequently, I have found, I believe, we're just going to jump to cunt board. Hold your breath. Nope, nothing there. I'll come back. Consequently. How am I going to do this? Because it wasn't linked up. I tell you what I can... No, because I'm going to need to jump to it. I need to be able to switch it off to jump to it. All right. Everyone just hold up. Colin, vamp. The screen's going to go blank for a few seconds, but that will just be me adding the URL back because I have to add it every week, and it's if I forget, this is what's happened this week. So Colin, keep talking while I just add a window capture.
We were talking just in the minutes before the show, saying that we hadn't had a technical fuck up in a while, and that we were indeed due. So
and we're back.
There you go.
There we go. So
ask and you shall receive. That's all that can be said on that matter.
So our man card will be Tom Hardy in Taboo, who is the and we'll get to the Regent Street bit, but is the peak of God's creation of men in the Caucasian category ever, and I will not be taking questions in regards to it. But the good thing about this, of course, is that it's sort of like 19th century anyway. So, and it's basically this outfit, maybe, but with the gloves. So in this one, he's got gloves on. You'll have to watch Taboo again, I guess, Colin. But it's that kind of like sexual protective, but also like benign vengeance power. Because if you haven't seen it, you're an idiot, people who are watching it, because the show is just one of my favorite ever shows.
Was Taboo? Taboo was like, it was the aliens guy. It was his one, or he produced it or something, right? Correct? No, it was a Ridley Scott thing.
Ridley Scott, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And so it's basically Tom Hardy, well, again, for legal reasons, it is not Tom Hardy. But this kind of outfit is, so you don't want it to, if you remember like the typical male cards, man cards in Lenormand, they're Tories. They're sort of like They got riding crops and like their riding pants and the fucking top hat and shit, and they're sort of standing in a field, and there might be a gay little dog somewhere nearby, and a couple of them are kind of hot in that unfortunate way that Tories sometimes are. But this needs to be more benignly masculine, which means slightly scruffier, and obviously Taboo is the show where he's essentially he returns from native lands in Canada, and it's a vengeance story against the British East India Company. It's fantastic. So there's sort of like magic and vengeance and all this kind of really cool shit going on. But it's basically Tom in that outfit. So you'll notice he's still got like a top hat and a coat in the way that people in the 19th century would wear. But hang on, just jumping back to it. So this is just him on set, because I tried to do screen grabs. And I'm like, I don't have a fucking time for this. So we're just going to do the on set picture. But like boots, black trousers. I quite like the, obviously the hat, but I quite like the sort of use of wool as around the collar of the coat. But probably with gloves like this in church. So he hasn't quite messed himself up. That on-set scene is during a fight at the docks. So he is a little bit scruffier. This is more the energy that I think it should have. So kind of like anachronistically modern, because the chest thing is open there. But basically standing on, oh, that's right. Fuck you, cunt board, and your dumb ways. This is a little bit later, but I quite like it anyway. I don't think we'll get the whole kind of like circus feel of Regent Street, but it's just to kind of say this is essentially where it is. Because I also, the inset is the Ace of Hearts, which means here's one where, because the card's vertical and we want kind of a reasonable amount of the body, a lot of it's going to be covered. But I actually think that might
we
work.
have space. We have we have space to kind of
if we do him on the right
up.
phrasing and we do the woman on the left phrasing, it comes back to that sort of balance of kind of like making sure they're sort of similar and looking at each other and giving them the scope or capacity to cover more of the inset, because he's going to need to be inset. Like he's going to need to cover a lot of it.
Because she's an ace as well, so it's kind of they are kind of.
And even if it wasn't, it would just be how we did it, and people would simply deal. But that's basically it. What are your thoughts?
I like that. Like when we were discussing, we always do a little tease of each other phrasing before the show, like of what our song choice is going to be. And you sent the cunt board images, and I was like, oh, that like tracks with my song choice, because I was thinking of fully like without us that like the first time I'd seen the images was today. And the few days ago, I was like, oh, it's going to be Tom Hardy, but it's going to be Tom, like the Peaky Blinders version, where he's like a Jewish gangster. And he's like, and is that just, and it kind of repulses me just because he's just so, like, it's just that kind of encased in masculinity. Like that kind of, like, again, this is why, like, this is why I'm like, listen, let's get gender to fuck, because it genuinely, it gives me the creep sometimes just how encased a human can be in their gender. But I thought that because it's a great character, and he is so good in these parts where it's like this gruff. Even with the bear, the one where Leonardo DiCaprio was fucked by the bear, like that one, the Revenant, where he played a similar character in that, where it's just this gruff frontier, although in obviously that's not a great historical rendition, but you know what I mean. Just that kind of gruff, like just a barnacle of that is. So he has the man card, like that is
it's more benign.
choice.
It's more benign in Taboo, I think, because it's righteous. Like there's actual fury and protection and so on. And he's nude in it more, which also is good.
That's correct.
Ryan, Edward, we have Lenormand, we have gay Lenormand royalty in the chat, and this I didn't know, and it's very useful, and it's going straight in my book. Thanks, Ryan. The inset lightly comes from the Petit Atea. So the Ace of Hearts for the man card, Mars, and the Ace of Spades, Venus. So that's really cool. That's
nice.
That's good to know. That's really, really useful. I hope you approve of our man card choice, and you will definitely approve, because it's impossible not to, of the woman card choice. We've told people, haven't we? Or are we
Well,
leaving it as a surprise?
I feel like we've been phrasing skirting the issue. But I think if anyone knows, no one knows me, but if anyone knows you, they can probably
They
imagine
know
who
who
that's
my
going to
wife
be.
is. They know,
And also perfectly balanced against Tom Hardy. So that like they are the same actor essentially of their
exactly.
era.
Exactly.
You know
The
what I mean?
shows even match. Like if I could do that,
Yeah.
that Bong Joon-ho like Academy Award kiss of these two shows,
Oh,
that would be my paradise.
that's anyway. You'll have to all check back next week for that. That one.
All right.
So yeah, so we've got composition wise, we're thinking he's on the right, up the right.
Phrasing. Yes.
And then and then we've got the Regent Circus just kind of happening, and this is in our kind of semi-Victorian, kind of pretend Victorian like era that this all exists in, which is Victorian light. I think we've established.
Yeah, well, you kind of, when we were doing the butt card phrasing, and realized that actually jock straps are 19th century because they were invented for people to ride bicycles over cobbles. That allowed us to have a jock strap card in it. But you made a good point, which is that it's sort of like LXG.
We'd have found a way.
It's sort of that LXG Victoriana, right? So there are time traveling riverboat casinos.
Yes,
but also Regent Street.
Yeah, there's a TARDIS at the heart of the Lenormand deck. This is the Lenormand deck. This is this is a day. What's our time of day scenario for this?
Daytime, mid-morning on a kind of like
totally
foggy, gloomy London day. So actually, just because this is going to be the other option, because Dracula's sort of in the deck. The first time Mina Harker sees Gary Oldman's Dracula on the street when he's in that green suit with the amazing sunglasses in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, that light level, which is the diffuse, foggy 19th century London light that everything happened in, except the Ripper murders, which happened at night. But so those are the two genders of Victorian light in London in the 19th century: murderous darkness and perpetual kind of like mid-morning gloom.
Yeah. Wonder what time of day next week's card will take place at then.
Exactly.
No, that's cool. So he's just like meandering through. He's obviously maybe walking with purpose, walking forward, not just standing.
He's been seen and recognized. So kind of the energy is that Dracula, Mina seeing Dracula moment. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be threatened, but because obviously in the show, James Delaney, which is Tom's character, everyone thinks he's dead, and he kind of like surprise bitches back into London. So there's a number of scenes where it's like in the church where it's just like surprise bitch, I'm back. So it's that energy of like, it's a me, Mario.
Is this like do we see like a full body, or are we
to the knees, to just below the knees?
Male freezing. Just below. Okay, that's cool. This will be interesting because this is the first time we've drawn a that's the focus of the person. So we've got face, we've got arms, we've got fingers, we've got
this is the one card that I'd like that to happen in, but try not to depict him being blown like you did to Denzel.
Listen, we all have biases when we're as creatives, okay? And the craft. Got it.
All right. But yeah, like I love because it's super gay anyway, I love the boots that Tom Hardy is wearing in that. Like I want those boots for the farm and sex. And So if you're feeling yourself with those boots as well, it can be full body. But I kind of just composition wise, I think it looks not full body. I think it's sort of 2/3, because that way you can get crowd. And the good thing, just coming back to it, because it's there, the good thing about Regent Street is it actually suits, or anything that's a circus like that, is it actually suits vertical treatment, because you can get kind of more of that like fading into the background, which is why I picked it, right? And in fact, where that cigar sign is where I used to get the bus. Not that that sign is there anymore. For years, that's how I would get home from work in town on the old 94. Me and Tom Hardy making out on the back seat.
We're a bit sore.
This didn't get. I mean, this got pretty gay. We're not even at the song choice yet. This got pretty gay.
It starts off that way. Like it starts off and it just goes. It goes south from there. That's cool. My initial kind of thoughts are that I can just with the being viewed thing, which is also one of my favorite that no one, not even you, will understand. Favorite random quotes from the chaotic Alyssa Edwards. Like she had this YouTube show, and she one time was like in an airport and she was telling a story about like just walking about, and she was just like, people were viewing me, and just that turn of phrase and in and of itself is super camp. So we're bringing layers to the morbid masculinity here, the morbid crust of mass. We're bringing characters, we're bringing feminine, we're bringing something in. I don't know what's going to happen, but it'll be
serving some kind of realness.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm seeing like where he's potentially knee up, and there's people like turning their heads to kind of just sort of, no, you won't. There won't be like hands up in the air shocked or whatever, but like there's people can turn that just to kind of, there's like maybe a light cloud, a light crowd.
So my original idea, but it wasn't obviously mask enough. So I went with Dracula as the kind of example. The opening scene of Wilde, where Oscar Wilde, so Stephen Fry, is walking. Consequently, that person does need to stand out in the crowd. So if you feel that like people need to be looking at him, like happens to Tom Hardy. If not, they do.
Yeah.
There's like a sense of maybe they're making space for him, because that person you're supposed to be with does stand out in a crowd.
Yeah, and also in that kind of made up fictional historic setting that we are creating for the cinematic universe, which is a phrase you invented. The gentlemen around they would be more effete, and this is like a guy that's like he's potentially got 2 trouts in his hands. I don't know what's happened. Like, he's just like that. This is it's a straight up and down kind of personification of the man. So yeah, there's room to play, as we like to say here. Phil's Fortunes Tellers.
What else do I need to say about the inset? So the Ace of Hearts can also be home, and that's a Marseille, like Ace of Cups kind of thing. So that can again, depending on the deck or depending on the reading, means that card can be father, or it can be house husband, or if you're just doing insets, the Ace of Hearts can be true love, but it can also be home. So things in relation to that. But this is, in many respects, although, I mean, contemporaneously or contemporarily problematic, it is an uncomplicated card. It is the man, right? So, yeah. Anything else, or should we move to song?
No, I'm pretty happy. I've got a good selection of directions I can go in, but I'm getting like this is like, I think this one and the women card do have to be kind of strong. Because this is like these are like, there's a few cards again that are like, this is what the deck is going to be remembered for, or this is what's going to be the pool for people. Correct. Anyway, phrasing aside, so like these are like, I'm excited to do this, like, and I'm excited. Obviously they appear next to each other in like the chronological order, because it's it's man and women, but I enjoy that we're doing it of a piece, and like they're mirroring each other, so it'll be interesting to go through the next 2 weeks, and then we take a break.
Yeah.
And then we come back with all the other shit, and it's a exciting time to be casually viewing the Fortune Fools pod show cast Untucked or whatever the fuck it is what we call it.
Down Under. Yeah.
Down Under. Correct.
So, all right, song.
Right, yeah. So again, I was going in like the Peaky Blinders sort of thing, and I went with Blackstrobe, I'm a Man, or I'm the Man, which appeared. They do like a bunch of songs, and it's like they do like a modern kind of cover of a song, or they pick it and then they put it in this like, you know, period thing. And in my head I was like, oh, this is the Tom Hardy card, this is the thing. And it's just a great song. It's appeared in my cinematic trailer imagination for things that I've been drawing. It's appeared in my workout fucking sessions as a playlist song. Like so as a man, as like a kind of we're doing this. It's a big. It's the vibe is the energy is up. So it's like I picked that just because I was like it also has it and the title, which we don't usually look kindly on.
It's often a trap. But for the man card, it isn't. Like
it's bravado. It has like masculine bravado, and I think that's why I picked it. And it's kind of the song seems to be. And I've heard some dicey stories about the people, the band, and the people that are in the band and stuff, which kind of adds to the kind of situation of masculinity. So we'll throw all that in. It's layered, it's textured. That's fine. What about you? What song did you choose?
Well, because like it's funny. Most weeks we complain that songwriters just write about one fucking thing and that only works for one fucking card. But there's actually there's a lot for like in the be a man or masculine man, men at work category. There's plenty. I was about to say there's loads, but that's also phrasing. So I investigated the mask direction and thought, no, this doesn't seem like me. And so I went with Holding Out for a Hero, which is a non-mask description of mask, right? Like, so you actually know what, depending on the version of it, but you actually know what she's after. And it's really interesting to hear it, right? Like some of the things Bonnie's calling for or holding out for haven't made it through the gauntlet of what is and isn't toxic masculinity. And I think that suits the card. I think
absolutely, yeah. It's a vibe. It's a toxic vibe.
Like most of it is kind of like I'll let it through. But there's some of them where it's like, I don't know if that's right in this century.
That's a good song. Like Bonnie Tyler, you can't go wrong. Exactly. I think we've nearly picked Bonnie Tyler multiple times, right? The course, because she's just had some belters. She has a bell twos. It'll be interesting to see what the song selection is next week for the women card, because to see what kind of where we go and how we sort of oppose that. Yeah. Obviously, we can't pick fucking Portishead because someone picked that many weeks ago, beat me to the post.
Yeah, afraid so I can't use
that. That was the Glory Box was gonna be my selection.
Interesting.
But now I have to kind of because that to me is like one of the sexiest songs that I think exists in the modern era of music. So I'll have to now go back and kind of readjust, realign, see what happens. It's going to be a Spice Girl song. That's what I'm going to do.
You're going to be tormented and end up shamefully offering up a Celine or something.
RuPaul. It's going to be RuPaul. Blame it on the edit. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Sissy That Walk. Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Well, TBD.
Well, so this week you're going to be focusing quite intently on Tom Hardy's body, as am I, unrelated.
Yeah. So what are we going to do for the cards?
What cards?
That was a joke.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. My head still spun around. Like, what were we talking about? Anyway, goodbye, Tom.
So we'll readjust the letter card to kind of get this gentleman butler refine, get him more sort of in place. We have the heart card, I guess, still.
Yeah.
So no, we're not doing the heart card. We're
Doing the
not
heart
doing.
catcher.
I'm sick
I
of
think
it.
this is, I know
Sick of
you've got
it. I'm
this
heart
like
sick.
this crazy system, which appears to work of like only doing 2 hours on a card, then moving to the next one. Maybe carry on with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, this one might, I don't know. See if you're vibing on actually going, I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about men this week and just men.
Yeah. Well, do you know? So I tried like the letter card. I was like, right. So I was like, should we? No, we're getting towards the end of the deck, so why not just focus on what we have and they're done? But I just get bored, and then you do like I find myself just like circling the same thing and over focusing. Maybe like again, this whole project has made me reconsider the fact that I maybe have some kind of ADHD situation, which I refuse to accept and I refuse to believe. But yeah, I think this one's more of a. That's a joke, by the way, guys. I was just kidding. Don't worry about it. This is more of a rich. It's more of a rich image, I think, and there's more going on, and I think it might require more focus. But if we just like reduce it down to this and fix the letter card, and then well, Rider, let's get that one because that's number one. So we get the twink card. Oh, that's a fun like twink card, dude card, and kind of get them kind of writing together.
But it'll also get kind of like the hand in because those are the three most important human cards, right? So if you're going to be spending this week doing the man phrasing and next week doing the woman phrasing, doing a twink at the same time phrasing is a really good use of your fortnight.
Yeah. Who do you suppose when we're working on the women card? Who do you suppose is as a good sort of match for a work with that one?
What do you mean?
Like next week when I'm working on the women card, what kind of other card is a good kind of that maybe needs to be
right.
And I don't want to hear the house card because that's misogynistic.
No,
but also I don't want to hear about the house card just now.
It's not the house card.
No, there's something. Maybe the fox card.
I think it's more like the snake.
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, yeah, Michelle Gomez is coming back. Yeah, that's correct. Because we have like a dummy test of like the deck that's en route.
Apparently, that's a James question, but
apparently. But I feel like the more that I look at like that one, just because it was such a small, and it's such a rich card because it was such a good composition, and we had like a lot of that. That would really like merit a kind of an HD 4K remaster. Absolutely, yeah. That's okay, cool. And no more spoilers. That's fine, guys. You've had
everyone
too good
in the chat. They've worked out which two shows I made kiss. Like it's not. No. I've been talking about this woman as my wife for a decade.
Listen, taste just shines out of you. That's all I'll say.
All right. Well, guys, this is really, really useful and helpful. And thank you for bearing with us as we got extremely gay and learned some things, not from us, but from Ryan. And yeah, so that's really good. Thanks, guys, in the chat. And don't forget to join or follow up in the Telegram group because otherwise you're only getting half the story. But otherwise, see you in a week. Bye.
Bye.